Though we have all traveled many uncertain roads, we have always recognized something wasn't right. We searched high and low, yet our paths had never intersected. Our desire to seek truth, then to speak true, has brought us all together. That thing of ours is rooted in truth, because truth is the only unshakable foundation. In the greatest book, it states in John 8:32, "For ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."
Truth is a powerful force. It is the foundation on which all great achievements are built, and the bedrock of trust and respect in any relationship. When we are rooted in truth, we can be confident that our decisions and actions are grounded in reality rather than in speculation or wishful thinking.
The pursuit of truth is not always easy. It requires courage, perseverance, and a willingness to face uncomfortable facts. But in the end, the truth is always worth it. It allows us to make better decisions, to build stronger relationships, and to create a more just and equitable world.
From politics and world events to entertainment and pop culture, we've got you covered. We'll explore our history and the stories that matter to uncover the truth that lies at the heart of each one. With our fingers on the pulse of the news cycle, we'll provide the insights and analysis you need to stay informed and engaged. As we stay rooted in truth and let the truth guide us in all that we do, let us be willing to listen, to learn, and seek out the facts, even when they challenge our own assumption or belief.
Let us never forget that the pursuit of truth is not just an individual endeavor, but a collective one. Only by working together
With honesty and integrity,
can we build a better future for ourselves
And for generations to come.
This
is That Thing of Ours. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on this 1st of September, Monday, 1st of September, 2025. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Locals, Rumble, and Pill.net.
and if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on Rumble or YouTube, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on pill.net, take that red pill. And if you're over on Facebook, you got like 7 choices. So run over there and clickety click. And Carol, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
We will keep you and her family
All
in
of
our
the families in the
prayers.
prayers. Yes. All right.
That's sad.
That is sad news. All right.
And we got Sheriff Hector over on pill.net.
What's up, Sheriff Hector? Thanks for joining. Oh, I didn't say hi to our Pilled fam over there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, let's say hi to the fam here.
All right. Let's say hi to the fam.
We got F. Clint in the house.
Yo, what's up, F. Clint?
We got Carol in the house.
Hey, Carol.
We love you, sweetie. We know it's tough right now.
Yeah, I know it's tough. Losses are always tough.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just always tough. It's harder for the people left behind.
It is.
Most definitely.
It is. Sad to hear these things. What
So,
is going on with the computer?
I don't know. It's doing weird stuff.
Okay. All right. Get it.
I know what it is.
Okay, good. All right,
That's
good. Well,
pretty
as
sweet.
Kay deals with those computer issues, hope everybody had a good weekend. Still, hopefully, some of y'all are having that extra day off today.
Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day, and I hope nobody had to labor too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right.
Sure. The rest of the fam will.
They'll show up when they get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. Black MAGA man calls on everyone to wake up and start thinking for themselves. Please,
listen.
please, everybody,
Please.
let's
listen.
All right.
You hate Donald Trump because you were told to hate Donald Trump. I get it. You were lied to. You were manipulated. They told you he was evil. They told you he was racist. They seeded the mistrust. But Donald Trump has done absolutely nothing to you. As a matter of fact, he's working tirelessly to make our country great. And the same people who seeded this mistrust are the same people that have proven time and time again that they themselves are not to be trusted.
Thoughts?
All right. Well, I mean, this is something that people have been saying forever and a day is that the Democrats are lying, the Republicans are lying, everybody's lying, but that's why they don't like President Trump. And a lot of people listened to it for a long time. There was 8+ long years now at this. Actually, we're closing in on 9+ long years because there was the whole time that he was actually running for president the first time. And so there's been all of these lies, but people are starting to see things for themselves, obviously, and more every day. And this is a good thing, but more and more people need to speak up like this man has. You know, black, white, Indian, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. It doesn't matter. People need to be speaking up and pointing out the truths that we're seeing. It's just, eventually people will see it enough. We will. I mean, I believe that we've hit that critical mass, obviously. Otherwise, they would not have been able to or otherwise they would have been able to keep him from being president this time around. But we still need people to continue to wake up because there's a lot of things on the Republican and Democrat side where it's just politicians are just seem to be kind of bought and paid for. And that's not in our best interest.
Exactly.
Hey, Chachi, thanks for joining us. Happy Labor Day to you as well. Thank you very much.
I hear. Oh, there's Miss Steph too.
Hey, Steph.
Happy Labor Day,
Happy Labor.
ma'am.
Good evening.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Would you read that, please?
All righty, here we go. The truth about Trump. Oh, geez. I know it said gun control. The truth about Trump, gun control, and self-defeating Democrats in 35 seconds.
Let's listen.
All right.
140 illegally possessed guns were just taken off the streets in Washington, D.C. in just 2 weeks since Trump's crime crackdown. Where's the liberal praise? You guys are all about gun control. You're all about getting guns off of the streets and out of our communities. And Trump is doing that. And this is just one city in 14 days. 140 guns off the streets. Imagine if people supported him doing this in cities like New York or LA or Chicago. But you won't, because you know it's working and you know it would continue to work. But you would rather risk your own safety and your loved one's safety if it meant admitting that Trump was generating results.
Thoughts?
I mean, that's kind of the case. He's getting a lot done in a very short period of time, but that's very President Trump. That's why we reelected him, because he did what he promised he was going to do. And then let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's just happening as there's more and more successes. And I have a feeling that there's a lot more pro-Trump voters in DC now than ever were in the previous 8 years. A lot of people are changing their minds. And if they can change hearts and minds in Washington, D.C., then you can change hearts and minds pretty much anywhere.
Exactly.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, Dawn.
Thanks for joining. Great to see you, too.
Exactly. You ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
All righty. Newscom-aligned non-governmental organizations stopping farmers from getting water in California awarded a $2.7 million grant.
Huh. Hey, Silver, just in time
Silver,
for your
just in
favorite
time.
politician.
It's about your state.
Let's listen.
Sorry.
The Nature Conservancy, who initially helped broker the deal to shove farmers off of their ranches and dairies in Point Reyes, is now cashing in on the deal. They're going to be granted $2.7 million to quote unquote help rewild Point Reyes. And of that money, only $78,000 is going to the actual project itself. The rest is in wages for planning and indirect expenses. Complete bogus. On top of that, the letter wields supporters. And of those supporters are those people that we need to be aware of, including Congressman Huffman, who has shown his true colors and is clearly against agriculture. On top of that, Lily Verdone, who is the executive director of MALT, is also in support of this. MALT, if you don't know, is an organization that's supposed to help preserve agriculture, but yet she's a previous TNC employee and clearly on the wrong side of the lines in this battle. I know I don't want people like Congressman Huffman on the board because he is clearly in support of the deterioration of agriculture across our state, and he is time and time again taking out farms. We don't want people like him wielding power. Let's keep people like him out of office.
Thoughts?
Sounds like the cows in the background. We're talking about it. Bunch of bullshit going on over there in California. Obviously, anything that seems to be done through the government of California seems to be filled with so much pork that it's just an absolute waste of taxpayer dollars, because you already know if it's something that Newsom's involved in, there's going to be so much grift in it that nothing positive is going to happen for the people that the things were actually talked about. You know, it was kind of like the Obamacare. Everybody's supposed to get health care, but that didn't happen. And we see a lot of that same kind of mentality. Hey, Chops, thanks for joining. Anyways, it's just so awful.
It is.
It's. I guess all we can do at this point in time is pray that arrests start happening and people start flipping on other people, so that way this level of corruption gets cleaned out some. I know that we're never going to get rid of all the corruption, but man, something's got to start happening soon, because this is just aggravating. Hey, Hope, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Angie. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Would you
Are
read
we?
that, please?
All right. Trump administration calls for prayer in this week's MAGA Minute.
Let's listen.
All righty.
Welcome to the MAGA Minute. First, I want to address the horrific shooting that took place at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. President Trump signed a proclamation immediately following the shooting, acknowledging the victims and their families and directing flags to be flown at half-staff. President Trump and the First Lady encouraged the entire nation to join us in praying for the victims and their families as they face unimaginable grief and loss. We will continue to provide further updates as they become available. Also this week at the White House, President Trump held a 3-hour and 17-minute-long cabinet meeting, setting a record for the longest televised event in presidential history. He also hosted the South Korean president in the Oval Office, as well as the Abbey Gate Gold Star families, after which he signed the first ever proclamation to commemorate the sacrifice of the 13 brave souls who lost their lives on that tragic day. President Trump also signed an executive order to protect Americans by ensuring federal policies and resources are not used to support cashless bail policies across the nation, which have been a complete and total disaster. And the president's crackdown on crime in Washington, D.C. is working. Total crime is down almost 20%. Violent crime is down 30%. Carjackings are down 67%. Homicides are down 40%, and robberies are down 40% right here in our nation's capital. The Dow Jones reached a record high, and the Congressional Budget Office, often partisan and left-wing, was forced to admit that tariffs will reduce our nation's deficit by $4 trillion. This Labor Day, gas prices are projected to be at their lowest in half a decade. And First Lady Melania Trump announced the Presidential Artificial Intelligence Challenge, inviting K-12 students and educators across our country to participate. Vice President Vance delivered remarks in La Crosse, Wisconsin, touting the administration's many historic accomplishments. And finally, amid pressure from President Trump, Cracker Barrel announced it would revert back to its OG logo. It's been a great week, and we wish you a very happy Labor Day. We'll see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
Thoughts?
All right. So that was a great little MAGA minute there. Certainly hit all the highlights of the things that are going on. Actually, a lot has been going on, and I think that that's something that we can kind of get lost in the sauce there as we go through day by day. So much stuff is happening, and we have a tendency to focus on some of the negativity in the world, but at the same time, we need to remember that these negative things that we see also have solutions that are going on at the same time. And as we hear about negative things, we know that they're going to have some kind of resolution in the future for those. So yeah, it's a great thing, that was positive. And then the jazzy music was kind of cool, man. Sexy. Yeah, I love this MAGA minute. Yeah, it was really good.
It was. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's listen.
All righty.
There's like a battle going on in here. There's a war going on in here. I want to do what's right, and I can't pull it off. Let's be honest. Anybody struggle with sin, even if you're a Christian? Anybody notice nobody sins anymore? They just struggle. I lead this Bible study. Dude's like, man, I've been struggling. My brother, that's called sin. You're sinning. Stop. Verse 15, God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. And in this moment, what happens is our will is fractured forever. See, the heart of the problem is we got a problem in our hearts. Actually, war against sin. Because it's warring against you. Listen, man, I'm 51 years old. I got saved when I was in high school. And I'm constantly going, what is wrong with me? You know where I got that line? The Apostle Paul. And by the time you get to Romans 7, Paul says, there's like a battle going on in here. There's a war going on in here. I want to do what's right, and I can't pull it off. I went at this men's conference, and I made all kind of promises. You ever make promises God you don't keep? How's your New Year's resolution working out, fellas? You don't look any skinnier than you did last year. Amen? Right. The heart of the problem is we got a problem in our hearts. And it's because we have a fractured will. That is what happened.
Well, that's the truth. It's a fractured will. You know, we do all sorts of things. We try all sorts of things, and it's difficult for us to keep up with those sometimes. But it's about keeping our focus on God and trying to maintain that relationship with Him and doing His desire as opposed to our own, which really in the end is kind of the reason why the Bible is written. It's, you know, hey, look, this is what you should be doing. We know you're not going to, but here's this book. It's basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yeah. I mean, we are in this thing called a schoolhouse of life.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Tired of getting sent to the principal's office.
I know. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Would you read that, please?
Alrighty. Oh, good. Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings is the only one who makes any sense on CNN panel about the CDC firing. Well, I mean, that and everything else on CDC or on the CNN panel.
Yeah, I know.
At least they have one sensible person there.
I know. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's listen.
Alrighty.
This is stuff that affects real people's lives, vaccines,
We're in National Immunization
yeah,
Awareness
immunization.
Month.
Yes.
I
For
hear
criticism from this person. I just have to say, he did use the term pregnant people in his resignation.
Oh, come
letter.
on.
And I'm sorry if that is like
that's a rude.
if that is like the way you're if that is like the way you're presenting information.
No,
I
that's
have
a
questions about your credibility.
Scott?
That's
it's like it's so amazing.
It's not a ruse. He
It's
really
a
wrote
ruse.
it down.
It's a rules because people
I
are
don't- this
dying.
guy's not
People
credible
have
to me. That's all I'm
already
telling you.
Scott, are you
discovered it.
serious?
Come on.
Well, he is not credible.
No. Are you serious that this is
Yes,
the
he
book
did write it.
that of all the things that we're talking about here, immunizations, vaccines, autism,
A measles
the
outbreak
research
worse than 30 years.
about on communicable diseases, on cancer, and you are the most concerned about someone's use of the word people.
Yeah, because
That's the most important thing
because
to
you were
you.
just complaining about the politicization of science,
That's
and I
not
can't think of
politicization. That's not-
politicization of science
that's
more
not
than that,
politicization.
or of what some of these people
So-
said
come
to the
on,
American
Scott.
people during
Come
COVID.
on.
So the credibility of some of these folks who are complaining. Look,
Okay, so
Well, I'm complaining, and I'm a public health and preventive
Wah,
medicine
wah,
physician.
wah,
We in the
wah, wah, wah.
NAACP are complaining,
Wah,
right?
wah,
And
wah,
we are
wah, wah,
an
wah,
iconic civil rights and human rights
wah, wah, wah,
organization.
wah, wah,
There
wah.
is reason to complain, Scott. You have a person who, during his confirmation hearings, said that Black people had a different immune system, that we should follow a different immunization schedule. You have a person who has spent his life undermining science, credible science. The people who walked out
Credible.
of the CDC, the people who resigned, these are not flippant folks. These are not people who did this on the slight of a turn. These are people who dedicated their livelihoods, who dedicated their hearts and their expertise to safeguarding the health of all Americans.
And their pocketbooks.
And now we are compromised, not just from a health and well-being standpoint, but from a national security standpoint. What's going to happen
So
when the
let's
next
talk about
outbreak
the jab.
just real
pandemic
quick
arrives? in the
play this
United
because
States?
Scott seems to think that RFK Jr., who says things like this, is more credible than
I didn't
people
say
who
that.
have degrees
I literally didn't say
in
that.
the subject.
Why did you say
But
things
watch,
I didn't say.
but watch,
Why are you
watch
saying I
this
said
clip.
that? I didn't say that.
Typical.
When I was a kid, and I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements, and from their lack of social connection. And I know that that's not how our children are supposed to look.
Science. Hashtag
this
science.
This is why Ajit Shah said, this is wacky flat earth voodoo stuff. Please, Peter Hotez, please send a few introductory biology textbooks
Thank you.
to the Department of HHS. I mean, look, the reason, Scott, I said what I said is because rather than you seriously answering a question about the real concerns that were raised by these officials about the bending of science to the will of that guy, you decided that the most important thing to you was their lack of credibility because they used the word people. I mean, I just think I understand the rhetoric and the political.
You realize that you're accepting some politicization of science, but not others, right?
What's a politicization of science that's been accepted?
Can men get pregnant or not?
Scott,
we're
you're
talking
in the
about,
CDC and
we're
you believe
talking
that,
about
I'm
the,
saying
we're
you're not a
talking
terribly
about
credible
the
person.
CDC that is responsible for the health and well-being of the
that
nation.
has absolutely
They won't
nothing.
even. They still
Nothing.
talk over
It
themselves.
does because
does not.
it's a question of whether your scientists
has
are going to politicize or not,
absolutely
and you accept
nothing
some and not
to
others.
do with the conversation that we are having.
That's just the
I
stuff
disagree.
that hits
It's a
hard
credit.
on
It's a
his segment of
it's a
Twitter.
credit. It's a
That's the stuff
credibility.
Why would we do
Love
that when people have died and
that's
are
what they
dying?
say.
Why would we do
It's-
that when
it's
people's
hard to
children
have a
are being
conversation
dehumanized?
in this country about real things when everything just becomes about buzzwords
Or political
and
products.
I don't understand why you're,
and I just
you're
have to say,
rejecting
like,
this criticism of someone's
because
credibility.
I think that
Do they
what
ever
matters
shut
to
up?
people in their homes
Yes.
is whether or not they know what immunizations their child should have, which, by the way, immunizations have saved so many lives.
Over
of children
I'm not
and people
disagreeing with
around
you
the
about that.
world.
I agree.
What matters to them
Through the
around the
decades.
world is not what words are being used
Oh, I
by,
think it does
by
matter
people,
because it tells me what kind of
but
person
it is whether or not they can trust that the guy who's making decisions about their health actually knows what a
Yes.
mitochondria is.
Yes. And when we focus on, imbecilic things such as that, that's why people are then subject to misinformation and disinformation, and they resort to violence, Scott. There was just a police, it's not violence. This is not a laughing, there was a shooting at the
There's
CDC.
attacks on ICE agents
A
every day. Who's
police
responsible for
officer
that? You
is
seem to
dead.
reject the
There
idea
are
that violence
people
is being
rejecting the
incited
fact
before.
that people are
Now you're
being
blaming this
kidnapped.
for
I think
It is.
we're
You guys
Scott,
cherry pick these things.
Well,
like
Scott, there's nobody who is
television.
justifying attacks against ICE officials. And nobody should justify or diminish somebody shooting hundreds of bullets
I'm not.
into a
It's
workplace
terrible.
where people
are
were
trying to
doing
save
public health.
lives, where people
I
are
agree with
practicing
you.
public health.
I'm not
So
for any
I
violence.
don't understand why that would even be a comparison that you would make, honestly.
Because it's
I
a
don't-
great way to not answer the question.
Well,
Exactly.
no
there
one
we
knows
are.
what
excellent way
Guys, we're
to avoid
way
the
over
question
our
because
time
there
here.
are thousands of doctors,
Oh my God, 3
hundreds
of them
of thousands
talking
of
at
doctors
once.
who probably don't use words that you don't like, who agree on the science.
What's
the
his
science is settled when it comes to autism and vaccines. They have
Definitely.
nothing to do with each other.
Definitely.
Less than 1% of scientists suggest that there might be a link.
You seem to be very angry with me. I fundamentally agree with you.
No,
All right.
no, but why do we have to get derailed by this political BS when you could just say,
Because-
yeah, that's garbage and we
because-
shouldn't politicize
Because some
science.
scientists are allowed to politicize things and
No.
some
Dress
aren't.
like a
No.
clown.
And it depends on your politics, and that's how
That's
you do
not
it.
true.
That is
That's not
very
true.
much not true.
That's not
but
true.
Here we are.
Thank you for saying that.
Thoughts?
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to pick through the parts there, the thoughts that shouldn't be spoken aloud. It was quite obnoxious listening to that cacophony of sound. Absolutely ridiculous, and you can't understand anything that's being said because so many of them are talking all at once. I think that there's all 4 of those ladies talking all at once. Well, 3 ladies and that other one that was all painted up. I mean, literally painted like a clown. I have no idea what was going on there.
Shim.
I don't know what that was, but
Yeah.
it just that did chill out on the makeup.
Silver.
Yeah, the energy is just all wrong. It's absolutely impossible to be able to say anything. And they just attack the man because he points out one thing. He didn't even get to finish his statement. Oh my God. And let alone the fact that they just absolutely reject what the man is saying before he gets a chance to say it and not considering the validity of what he was actually communicating, which was, you want to tell me that these people know what they're talking about, but they think that men can be pregnant.
Yeah.
Come on. If you want to talk about
if
toxic,
Santana gets pregnant, we're selling tickets.
I don't know. Anyways, if you want to talk about toxic femininity, That's it right there.
Yeah.
This whole toxic masculinity thing, I think that we aren't seeing that on TV, except on the movies, that the people that they love so much are the ones showing it in their movies and everything. But I'm also going to say that that was a prime example of toxic femininity. And that is the conversation that needs to start happening, because this is what's preventing the American people from being able to move forward. And you know what? Until we fix this kind of rabble from just making noise as opposed to moving a conversation forward, we can't move forward. It's going to be impossible. So let's get rid of the toxic femininity and have people make listening great again.
Exactly. You ready?
Yeah.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Okay, I'm going to screw up the last name. Sorry. Joseph Ladapo says a cult-like obsession with vaccines has replaced science. Boy, that's the truth.
Let's listen.
Yeah.
So I think it was yesterday, there was this rally, if you will, with a bunch of CDC employees leaving their office and going to support these leaders that have resigned. And, I listened to what they had to say, and there's this cultish relationship with vaccines, and this leadership is just unable to objectively evaluate science. And when it comes to vaccines, it's just there's only one possible answer. And if the science doesn't agree, then the science needs to be bent. So that you need good leaders who can objectively look at the science.
Thoughts?
See, that's the problem is that we haven't been able to have an objective look at science because we're too busy listening to the cackling hens over there on The View. I mean, CNN, that won't even allow a rational discussion. He was trying to make a valid point. There was absolutely nothing that was illogical about the 5 words that he was allowed to say, but that is the propaganda machine that people are sick and tired of. That is the propaganda machine that's preventing a rational discussion, so that way we can actually get to the truth about what's going on. And it's not just the jabs, it's so many other things, like men can't be pregnant, but these are the people we've been forced to listen to because of those cackling hyenas over there on CNN and their kind that don't allow a rational discussion.
Exactly. Oh, you have the next
Okay,
one.
good, because that's a perfect segue into everything that's going on. And so we want to have this discussion about the jabs and all that other stuff. And this is the real problem. The first population wide peer-reviewed study finds COVID-19 vaccines increase the risk of multiple cancers, confirms fear of, quote, turbo cancer epidemic. A bombshell peer-reviewed study, which we'll get to at the bottom of this, out of Italy, has just shattered the narrative peddled by big pharma, corporate media, and government health bureaucrats, the same ones that got canned. For the first time, a population-wide cohort of nearly 300,000 people tracked over 30 months has revealed that the so-called safe and effective COVID-19 shots are linked to alarming spikes in multiple forms of cancer. And I'm going to go ahead and go through this. Again, it was in Italy, residents aged 11 and older, from the Pescara province from June of 21 through December of 23. And so that's the base. And so here's what their findings are. Hospitalizations for cancer were 35% higher in vaccinated individuals versus the unvaccinated. The link was strongest in men and in those with no prior Rona infection. Overall cancer risk plus 23% after just one dose. Breast cancer plus 54% risk after vaccination. Bladder cancer, 62% increased risk. And colorectal cancer, 35% increased risk. That would explain why they want to see everybody's poop so bad. And let's see, if you really want to, and we can put this up, they go over the signs and increased risks after one dose, and they say it's statistically significant, and it goes through each kind by the site of on the human person. And let's see what this means. The strongest statistically significant increase were found for breast, bladder, colorectal, and overall cancer risk. Nearly all other cancer sites also showed an upward trend, though not statistically significant, due to wide confidence intervals. Only lung and prostate cancers showed no evidence of increased risk. This pattern suggests a real signal that is partially obscured by co-founders and limited follow-up time. And so there is a 43-page article. Let me go through this. Here we go. EXCLI Journal, Experimental and Clinical Sciences. And this is the peer-reviewed article with the doctors that put their name on the article, and they give the abstract and all of the information, 40-something pages, which we're not going to go through here because we're not that kind of show. And you can really look at this. By all means, if you want to, take a look at this, and it really shows the medical proof. This is the actual, like, what's actually happening. And I think that that's what we need. And we need more of this. Yeah, 35%. Hey, Cal Bear, thanks for joining us. 35% increase is statistically significant increase in anything. Like over, it's over 1/3, so it's like there must be something there that's not by accident. That's why the doctors themselves are saying it's statistically significant. And finally, doctors are feeling comfortable enough in which that they can communicate these things. The other thing that I find interesting is that it's out of a European Union nation. And so that's one of those places where the science was truly silenced and people weren't allowed to tell the truth. It's just mind-boggling. And people were trying to blow the whistle the whole time. People were trying to speak up. Doctors were silenced. They did things that, like not giving the jab, but actually giving a saline solution instead, because they knew that they were doing something wrong to their patients. They wanted to do no harm, yet they were forced to do it in so many ways. And the patients, they were brainwashed into thinking that that's what they needed to do because the television told them. Man, there's people that really need to be held account for this. And I just makes my blood boil. Anyways, Cal Bear says you would notice 35% more drunk drivers. Yeah, I bet you would.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, what's going on, man? Let's see. Carol says the doctor tried to scare me about breast cancer about 25 years ago. Never been back since. Yeah, I can't imagine that smashing the tatas and irradiating them is a great idea. Of course, then again, getting irradiated, I don't think is generally something that we want. Whatever. But then again, I'm not a doctor, so what do I know? So don't listen to me.
Welcome back, Steph.
Hey, welcome back, Steph.
Glad you enjoyed your dinner. You ready?
Yeah.
Would you read that, please?
All right. All right, here we go. Oh God, are they going to let him say anything? Yeah, who knows? Scott Jennings says the public health regime deserves to be turned inside out after what happened during COVID.
Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates specifically to the COVID vaccine, which has been a flashpoint lately, I do think there are legitimate questions about whether it should have been mandated. And they took away the emergency designation. I think only 23% of American adults said they got it last year. Only 13% of children were given it. So the American people had started to make a decision about that. A lot of Americans have questions about all of this because of what happened during COVID with some of these officials that we're hearing from now. They didn't cover themselves in glory and what they told the American people about the safety and efficacy of that particular vaccine. So the reason we're here is not because of Kennedy. The reason we're here is because the public health regime deserves to be turned inside out after COVID. I do think it's not inappropriate for the government to have on a rolling basis investigations of what we're doing, because sometimes we find out that what we're doing or what we told the American people turned out not to be true. So rolling investigations of vaccines and the advice we give the American people on this, on food, which is another big part of his agenda. He has a lot of popular support for that, truthfully.
I mean, things were silenced. Okay. Hey, thank you, Aaron, very much for that Rumble rant. Do truly appreciate it. He says that biopsies and mammograms pop the cysts that your body forms around the parasites and release them. Many doctors on X are saying those two procedures can metastasize the cancer. All right. And here's the thing is the ability to have a rational discussion was shut down. Doctors were threatened. Doctors were not able to say the things that they were seeing. They weren't allowed to ask the questions. They were just told what they needed to do. And if they didn't, there was hell to pay, and they could lose their licenses. They could get, any number of evil things could have happened because they were trying to speak up, which is exactly what I want out of my doctors. I want my doctors to be able to speak freely and tell me what they think or feel based off of their understanding and their research, or the fact that they should be allowed to talk to each other and have that discussion. That was absolutely shut down. We were in a medical tyranny ran by the people who make the vaccines, is the way I see it. Could be wrong, but we were under a medical tyranny by an organization or group of people, organizations, companies, whatever, that prevented the truth from coming out for their own profit. And I'm going to say that it sure feels like there were a bunch of eugenicists involved, in which case we know Bill Gates seems to be a eugenicist and he supports all these things. So I have a feeling that him and his buds were certainly a part of all of our medical tyranny that we had to go through.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
I think so.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Why do babies get STD jabs as soon as they're born? That's a great question. Had no idea.
Let's listen.
1,135% increase. Of what, you may ask? There was a study that was covered up by the CDC that showed a 1,135% increase in autism with kids that got the hepatitis B vaccine. Do you know when they get the hepatitis B vaccine? I'll tell you. They get it right when they're born, within an hour or two. Why do they get this vaccine, you ask? It's to eliminate STDs. Unless your child is coming out the womb looking for strippers, I don't think it's necessary. RFK Jr. revealed this today or yesterday, maybe. This is something I've known for a really long time. However, now they're going to dig deeper into it. And as a mom of a child on the autism spectrum, who I guess it could have come from the hepatitis B, but it happened at 18 months after his MMR. The fact that this stuff is actually getting looked into is absolutely incredible. It's something I've been fighting for 9 years. And when, not if, when they find the link, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits.
Thoughts?
As there should be a lot of lawsuits. There should be so many lawsuits. Why are we giving newborn babies STD jabs? How does that even make sense? What's going on? Why is this happening? Is that what they're really protecting little newborn infants from? Just doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is that there's something going on that they're not telling us. But it would also explain that why so many kids are sick now that weren't as sick as they were before.
Facts. Facts.
I look forward to justice coming. Lord, please send your justice to these people.
Mm-hmm. You ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Dr. Joseph Witt Doring exposes the SSRI scam to Tucker Carlson.
Let's listen.
You can stick needles into people's spine and you can draw out fluid and you can look at the metabolites of things like serotonin and you can get depressed people and undepressed people and say, is there any difference in the actual amount of serotonin floating around in the brain? Every time they've done this, they have not found that there is any difference between depressed and undepressed people. But
there's no difference?
There is no difference. Because that's why we don't use any biological markers in the diagnosis of any psychiatric conditions. No brain scans, no blood tests. They're not useful because there are no ways, like actual biological ways to differentiate depressed people from undepressed people.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. And the way they justify it was, well, okay, so we haven't found it yet, but it must be a medical problem and we're eventually going to find it. And rather than admitting that, in the meantime, we'll just tell people it's a chemical imbalance because it's just an easy kind of like metaphor for them to understand. And it helps us dish out the drugs without people asking too many questions.
But it's untrue.
It's untrue.
Therefore, physicians should not say that or they should lose their medical license.
I mean,
Thoughts?
isn't that how it works? If a doctor says something that they can't medically confirm, that they're personally liable for saying those things?
Supposed to be.
Aren't they held to a higher standard than regular people? I don't know. That's yeah. Okay. So there's no way to tell if somebody is actually clinically depressed through blood tests or anything like that. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So how would we know that these medications or have any positive effect whatsoever, especially when there's so many of the mass shootings that have a correlation to SSRIs? Almost sounds like it's a big pharma money grab.
What?
Huh. Okay, Calbear says, not if they are FDA approved for the condition. And so how does the FDA, my question for that is how would the FDA be able to approve anything if they can't figure out whether or not somebody is clinically depressed?
That doesn't make any sense to me.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So why do we have the FDA if they're just making guesses? I know that science isn't guessing. Well, I mean, there is the hypothesis, but I thought that by the time we started doing human trials on anything, that we were well beyond the hypothesis phase, and that there's the new hypothesis is, does it work on human beings? That's why we go through the human trials, and then it gets released to the public. The public, I don't know, whatever, words are hard. Yeah, that would be my guess as well, Calbear, that there might be criminals involved in all of this. Whew.
You ready?
I know depression is a real thing. I've dealt with it myself. I've seen it in other people. Left Lane says, Mike, depression is real. I've lived with it every day of my life. Okay, don't tell me that it's not real or that it's just in my head. I live with it. And I agree with you, Left Lane. I know that depression is real because I've seen people that were full of life lose that sense of anything that was joy or happiness. I do believe.
I've been depressed for the last couple months. I understand
Well, you've been depressed because of the pain that you go through on a daily basis, because we can't get the medical care that you need for the car accident that you were in. But that's a whole other conversation. C2 through C7, the discs are crushed, but hey, whatever. Why do we need to fix anything, right? And as if that's not going to affect somebody's emotional state. Well, we do know that pain causes people to react differently than they normally would. So yeah, you know what? There's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but we can't get it fixed until Big Pharma gets a dose of its own medicine.
Yeah, exactly. You ready?
Yeah.
How about some Kelly?
All right. Yeah, we could use some Jesus right now.
Let's listen.
All right.
Oh, son, are you ready for this? Let's go. Why do Christians always act like revival is a fireworks show? You know what I mean. Boom, boom, boom. It's here. But then poof, poof, poof. It's gone. But no. What if? What if it was never supposed to end? You see, Romans 2:4 tells us it's the goodness of God that leads to repentance. Repentance is supposed to crack us open, and then God drops revival into the hearts of his people. But here's the twist. Revival isn't clean. It's messy, but it's also pure. His goodness will shine so bright that it will expose even more junk in us. But not so we'll be ashamed. It's so that we can see all that junk and then make a trade. Our filthiness for his righteousness. Yeah, Jesus traded our sin for his right standing with God. And when we finally see that junk for what it is, we get rid of it. handing it to our Father. Because every time we see more of his goodness, it leads us right back to more repentance, which brings deeper revival. Think of it like this. God built a holy feedback loop. His goodness leads to repentance. Repentance leads to revival. And revival leads to seeing more of his goodness, which leads to more repentance, which leads to more revival. Oh, son, that's good. Oh, son, that's good. Listen, friends, that's not a schedule. That's not just a conference theme. That is a way of life. I mean, all I'm really trying to say is maybe revival doesn't have to fizzle out. Maybe it was always designed to keep going forever, to keep going forever. Maybe the truth of the situation is we're the ones who stepped out of the loop. And maybe, just maybe, God's still standing there, looking at us, saying, bro, I wasn't done at all, at all. And think about that for a minute.
Thoughts?
All right. You know, the revival is within us. God is waiting there. He's waiting for us all the time. He wants to bless us in more ways than we know how to even ask. And it's up to us to lay everything at the feet of his son, Jesus. That's where it's at. It is about us turning it over to God. And it may seem counterintuitive in so many
Full
ways.
surrender.
Full absolute surrender. Exactly, Kay. It is an absolute surrender. And a lot of times it may seem counterintuitive, but it really does make a difference. And it's something that we should work towards every day. But that's how we get that revival, not only in our own lives, but it will also inspire other people. It is about our journey and our journey to God, following that path and trying to do it his way. So that way he will remove these blocks from our lives. But the more we do for, not for him, but the more we do to get closer to him, the more he opens up to us the blessings that we seek, that we desire. And does it mean that we can open ourselves up completely and that he will heal us 100% or give us all the things that we want? No, it doesn't, because there's still a purpose. There's still a plan. But we're not doing it for things here on this earth. We're doing it for our relationship with God. And in the end, our treasures are in heaven. They're not here on this earth. But as we do turn to him, we do see more changes in our lives. And I can say that for a fact in my own life. The further I turn to God, the more I see him working miracles in my life. Or maybe it's just that he opens up my eyes a little bit more to the blessings that he wants to give me. There's a million different ways that it can happen. And I'm not a prophet. I'm not, a preacher or anything like that. I'm just going off of my own experimentation, my own hypotheses, trying to do the things and recognizing the differences in my life, taking that look back and seeing what differences and what changes have happened because I've laid my problems at his feet, tried to turn to him when I do desire to sin, and seeing that those changes do happen. What's the worst that can happen as you try to do things a more biblical kind of way? Okay, let's say nothing changes. Well, you know what? At least you tried. But really, I have a feeling that as people turn more of their life over to God, that they're going to see more of those changes. That is the revival of your own life, your own spirit, and just feeling better on the inside, despite all of the physical and the exterior. Those things may still not be what we want them to be, but it doesn't mean that there aren't beautiful changes happening in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Calbert says, you might be a preacher, Santino. I don't know what I am. I'm just a Santino. Hope says, here is the answer. Romans chapter 15, verse 13. Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, that you may abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Whew. Aaron says that Calbert, I've told him he should preach. He's the only one I really like listening to speak on religion. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You are good at it. Are you ready?
I'm just a good talker because I do it a lot.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Laura Logan says, the United States is the only nation founded on a covenant with God.
Let's listen.
For all of those people falsely claiming that the 10 Commandments and religion are being forced on the American people because they have to be displayed in schools and so on. Let's be very clear about another thing that people are being dishonest about. This country is the only country on earth that was founded on a covenant with God, which recognized something called inalienable rights that come from something bigger than all of us. If you take God out of the equation, what happens to our God-given rights? That's right. They don't exist. Once you put God-given rights in the hands of men, then what are you going to do? Hope that the men you like and agree with are the ones in power making the decisions, altering everything? That's not how this works. Those rights are only guaranteed from generation to generation to generation because they come from something greater than all of us, because they come from the Almighty God.
Thoughts?
All of the founding fathers talked about divine providence. All of the founding fathers believed in a deity of some sort. All of the founding fathers made sure that in not only the Constitution of the United States, but all of the state constitutions and every state constitution since the founding fathers were long an afterthought of the ever expansion of these states united. The one common theme is that there's a creator. They all say something about God. And I think that that's important for us to understand because there is a covenant with God. And that is because of the creation. And we don't need our politicians to say to us whether or not there's a creator because they are just men created by the same God that they may or may not believe in themselves. So I don't care what they think because that's not what this is about, because they are not gods. They are human beings, and we have free agency and free thought, which was given to us by our creator, and they can't take that right away from us. We're going to think whatever we're going to think, no matter what the government says. And so if they say that there's no creator, I'm sorry, who died and made you God? Doesn't matter what you think, because I'm going to believe in a God one way or another. I may not have been always a God-fearing kind of person who followed biblical ways. As a matter of fact, I can assure you I wasn't. But I did believe in a God. I was more agnostic, I guess. I believed that there was a creator. I just didn't believe that any one religion had it right. And so really, in the end, I kind of just did things my own way. And guess what? My life sucked until I decided to actually read the Bible and try to understand what it was telling me. And then boom, all sorts of things started happening that opened up my mind and my heart to the fact that the God of the Bible is very real. And so everybody's on their own path, and they may or may not believe, but they also have no right to tell me what I can or cannot believe. But I can tell you that the God who gave us the Decalogue is the very God who is the one who helped put this nation in place. He's the one that made sure that this nation came about. So I believe in a God. You can't take that away from me. And most of this country is Christian. And even more so than that, almost all of this nation believes in the same God, even though we have very different ways of our belief and the way we follow him. It does not mean that everybody does not believe in the God of Abraham, at the very least.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. Missed you too. Glad I caught you live tonight. Oh, well, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that, man.
We're glad you're here.
We are glad you're here.
You ready?
Be cool, bro.
Would you read that, please?
All righty. Laura Logan says Islam is not a religion. It's a civilization.
Let's listen.
Well, this should piss some people off. Let's see what happens.
Islam is not a religion. It's a civilization. And this is a very significant difference because people think that under the First Amendment of the United States, that, the protection, the freedom of religion means that you have the freedom to use religion to enforce and advance a political ideology, even where it means the overthrow of the existing government. And that is not the case. Islam defines itself as a civilization, and religion is really part of that, but it is not the defining thing. And why does it matter so much? Well, because the civilization of Islam is governed by Sharia. And by that, I mean Sharia law.
Right.
And You cannot have Sharia law coexisting with the Constitution and American law. Those two things are diametrically opposed in every single respect. They're not even vaguely tied to each other, right? And so what we have allowed in the United States is we have allowed First Amendment protection. We've treated Islam as a religion, is a political organization that uses the religion as a cover and as a front.
F. Clint.
Thought.
All right. Yeah, woman doesn't look like herself. She brings up an excellent point. Islam, I wouldn't say that it's not a religion. I would say that it's a religion, but the problem with that faith when it's taken to its extreme is that it forces a theocracy, which in and of itself is counter to, well, our First Amendment and our entire nation. We are supposed to have a freedom of religion. And if any religion states that there's no other religion that can be in that space, then that's not an American kind of principle. And so, yes, people are free to practice their religion, but they cannot literally force other people to follow their religion or pay a fine, which is exactly what their kind of what their books say is that, you know, either you convert or you have to pay a fine and your life is going to suck. That's not what this is about. As a matter of fact, this nation was created because of the false religions that were being foisted upon the people over in Europe. So everybody was running over here so that way they could have their freedom of religion and the freedom from specific religions. We must defend our freedom of religion here, because if we don't allow freedom of religion, and if we have one that's picked over all others, then the American experiment is dead at that point in time. And so we must care for the American experiment. And it may be difficult and it may be challenging to deal with the religions that are hostile to any other religion. But if you start, really taking the hostility from each religion, then it's going to turn into a giant mess, 1100s kind of thing. And we don't need that. That's another thing that we were trying to get away from, because we all desire to live in peace, because Islam calls itself the religion of peace. Christianity calls itself a peaceful religion. And so many other religions consider themselves peaceful, yet so many wars have been fought over the concept of religion. So the American experiment is actually about saying, okay, we're going to get rid of all the hostility, because some common thread through so many, if not all religions is that we want peace. That is a natural state for mankind to want peace. And so if we hold on to the violent portions of our religions, then we can never get to that state of peace. And if all of these religions are inspired by God, because God allows everything under the sun, and if they're all saying peace, and if that's the one common theme, then maybe we should learn how to be peaceful with each other, would be my guess. And in the end, that's what the American experiment is. And that's why I still support to this day my oath to the Constitution, because it is the world's best chance for that peace that we all seek and desire. So that way our children have the opportunity to live a better life than we did.
Mm-hmm.
Cal Bear says, American women will really love living under Sharia. Yeah, it's going to be so awesome. Cover your face or we'll stone you.
Yeah.
Carol says, that's me. Like I've said before, I was raised Catholic and then my dad studied Buddhism, so I believe something in between. I think that there is a smidge of truth in all of them. I've looked at so many of them, and there's a lot of beautiful things spoken in so many religions. But for me personally, I believe a much more literal translation of the Bible that's given to us, both Old Testament and New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Silver says, I would fight to the death to not live under Sharia law. Well, that's probably because you might die if you were under it, because if I'm not mistaken, you're one of those blonde hair, blue-eyed devils.
Yes.
It doesn't work out for people with blonde hair and or blue eyes.
Correct.
Cal Bear, oh, he no.
Oh, heck no.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah.
Aaron says, true peace is the end of all things, for there is no sounds to be heard and no one to hear them. That's very cynical and sad. No. True peace is peace within ourselves, so that way we can share it with others. Let's see. Hope says, a little truth mixed in with lies. Yeah, well, it happens.
Yeah.
But in the end, our ability to understand the nature of God is so much more complex than we could even ever possibly imagine or fathom.
Exactly. Whew. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you read that, please?
All righty. Beverly Hills reverses plan to fly Israeli flags at public schools, citing safety concerns. Well, okay, Beverly Hills, which nation are you in?
Right?
Well, why don't we just fly Mexican flags at the Beverly Hills education system?
Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
Just days after the vote, Superintendent Alex Chernus blocked the move, citing safety concerns.
I made the decision based on the misinformation out there, based on the fact that this is a highly charged issue. I think the purpose of this resolution is to calm everybody down and make it very clear that when we fly the flags in front of our schools, it'll only be the U.S. flag and the flag of California. Thank you.
I don't know if you guys anticipated the amount of undue stress and self-inflicted wounds. To date, I have received 480 highly negative, vulgar, anti-Semitic comments.
The superintendent cited safety concerns when pausing the plan. The board this afternoon agreed to scrap it. Supporters say the idea of flying the flag is to show Jewish support and fight anti-Semitism. But people against flying the flag say this blurs the line between supporting the Jewish community and a foreign government, especially during the war in Gaza.
All right.
Thoughts?
So why on earth, again, my statement stands for itself. Why are we flying flags of other nations? That's not how it works. It's, maybe if they had educated people over at the education system over there in Beverly Hills, they would understand, like, hey, this is where we live and we fly our flag as opposed to other people's flags. Because if we fly other people's flags, then that's like a sign from way back when that says that this place doesn't belong to that place anymore.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Aaron says Jews are not Israel and Israel are not Jews. Well, I mean, there's debatable parts about that, but yeah.
Yeah. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. All right. There's a reason that Christianity is the only religion that gets attacked by the occult. Imagine that.
Let's listen.
All right.
I knew that Christianity was the truth because that's the only religion that the occult's afraid of.
Okay, you got to say it again, man.
That's the only religion that the occult, these Luciferians, is afraid. That's the only religion they're afraid of, because that's the only one that has power. It's the only one that has power. Buddha, the devil, is not afraid of Buddha. The devil's not afraid of Muhammad. He's not afraid of Krishna. And no disrespect to people, but they're not. It's a false religion, bro. So why would the devil be afraid of something that he created?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? The gospel is the only thing that the devil couldn't create. It's the only thing. And so that's why, look at it. We just saw recently with Hollywood, they had cast, it was like a lesbian black woman to play Jesus Christ.
Yes.
They don't do that with Islam. They don't do that with
Never.
Why? Because there's no weight in those religions. There's no weight in the spirit. Like, none. Like, we see time and time again that Christianity is the only thing that's mocked. They won't even report about Christian persecution. 70 Christians get beheaded in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and where's the news media at? The only major outlet I saw reported was Fox News, and that was like 5 days after the story had already gotten really big. But guarantee, if there was an Islamophobic attack or something like that, or anti-Semitic attack, it would be all over the news.
Come on,
all over. But if it's if it's an attack on Christianity, they don't want to talk about it. Why? Because they don't want to bring awareness to it, because that's what they're trying to do. They want Christians to get attacked. They want to exterminate the gospel.
Come on.
These principalities, And these demonic rulers, they can only gain territory in the spirit when there are less true Holy Spirit filled believers. Because God gave us the power to hold it down.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? So they will try to not shed light on these things because God gave us authority to push weight in the spiritual realm.
Thoughts?
I mean, in the end, that's kind of the observational techniques that we utilized to understand that we were being fed a bunch of lies by so many within our government. Not the government itself, individuals within the government, still making that very clear that it's individuals and not the whole thing. And so when we utilize that exact same logic for, well, which group of people are being attacked more than anybody else? Obviously, the people that are being attacked more than anywhere else on the planet seem to be Christians. Now, obviously, Jews are getting attacked as well. But in the end, it's the people who believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's the people of Israel, not the state of Israel. We can go ahead and sock you back to that one, which is not the same as the state of Israel. Y'all know that how I feel about all that. And so it's the people of Israel who are being attacked, and Christians are grafted into that vine through Jesus. And that is the reason why the true faith is being attacked all of the time, and why these other faiths are lifted up and supported, because the other ones may not necessarily have all of the God-fearing principles that our Creator actually wants us to have. But we have to go through the things that we need to go through, so that way we can learn the lessons, so that way we can actually get our relationship back with our God. That is the point of all of these other things, because we have to go through our egotistical selves before we can lose our ego. We can have ourselves, we can die to ourselves, so that way we can have God start to speak through us again. We need to understand that these attacks on people who are believers in Christianity are being attacked because there's too much truth in there. That's why Hollywood wants absolutely no mention of God. That's why Tim Tebow was silenced when he was one of the best football players the NFL probably ever had. Yet, they had to silence him.
Yes.
Those are the attacks. And those are the things that tell me that, you know what, maybe there's a lot more truth to the whole Christianity thing than all these others that are promoted on the television all day, every day. Silver says, state versus people is an important distinction. Thank you. I agree. Thank you. Thank you.
You ready?
Yes.
How about some Justin?
Justin's good.
When you're brave enough to completely surrender to God, this is going to cost you everything. There will be a major price to pay, because God is going to take you from security to uncertainty. But in your uncertainty, you will find your gift, you will find your calling, you will find your anointing, and you will find your purpose. But you will also find a new level of faith that didn't exist as long as you were living in your security. Your faith is like a water valve, like a tap. Right now it may be cracked and it's just drip, drip, drip. But when you surrender everything and you go into uncertainty, new places, new territory, new people, whatever it may be, now you have opened that valve and you are totally trusting God. Word of God gives us so many illustrations of this. Look in the Old Testament. Look at the life of Abraham, from security to uncertainty. The life of Moses, from security to uncertainty. The life of Ruth, from security to uncertainty, and many, many more. And even in the New Testament, look at Jesus' disciples, as he called them. Look at the life of Peter, Andrew, James, and John, from security to uncertainty. And we can't forget Paul, from security to uncertainty. When you're willing to let go what's in your hand, then God will let go what's in his hand. If you're willing to let go your security, God will let go his blessings. God will let go his anointing. God will let go his purpose for your life. God will let go the amazing life that he had planned for you.
Thoughts?
Okay. All right. So it's kind of along the lines, if I'm understanding the man correctly, what he's talking about is that if uh, as we decide to turn our lives over to God and give it entirely to God, we're going to go through some trials and tribulations, and that's to make sure that this is what we really want. He allows things to happen to us, but that's part of the refiner's fire. We're going to get tested and tried, and as we get tested and tried, we have to make those decisions. What are those decisions? Those decisions are we going to follow a godly path, or are we going to follow that self-centered egotistical path that we've been following this entire time? So yes, we will get challenged. We will get challenged in so many ways, more ways than we would care to be challenged. But it is part of that purifying process that we go through. And as we make more and more of the decisions to turn to our Creator and trust in Him and His ways, He shows us as we're going through these trials that that He's got us, that He's the one that's in control. And that it's not us who controls the things that are going on in our lives. As a matter of fact, the things that we do think that we're controlling in our lives, the very reasons why we have the challenges and difficulties that we have, it's to show us the error of our ways. We just need to make sure that we are giving it up to God and that it really is all in His control, and that He does care about us more than we can even imagine, because He is the God of love. He understands love, and He's trying to teach us that love so that way we can be part of His kingdom.
Amen. Amen. You ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Harrison Smith says leaked Epstein emails to former Israeli prime minister reveal Israeli-centered AI surveillance grid.
Let's listen.
Surprise.
I know.
Now let's get into this article. This one is a crazy one. In fact, I'll give credit to the guy who made me aware of this. Clip number 7 here. Epstein emails leaked. Here's a little rundown of the Reason article entitled Inside Jeffrey Epstein's Spy Industry Connections. Let's watch.
Epstein's emails with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak are being made public for the first time, and they're generally just about how the two of them wanted to start surveillance companies together, how Epstein was organizing meetings between Barak and people like Peter Thiel, the owner of Palantir, a surveillance company that is increasingly involving itself with American and other Western governments. And you also have some really crazy ones like this, where Epstein says, with civil unrest exploding in Ukraine, Syria, Somalia, Libya, and the desperation of those in power, isn't this perfect for you? And there's also this one where Epstein says, Wevy Chine's looking for to start personal protection company in Beijing. Kidnapping has begun. These were released to the public by hackers. They are confirmed to be 100% real. And if you want to read a full article about it, check out Matthew Petty's article. But you can also check out TrueAnon on Twitter, who are about to do an episode about this. And I think many people thought that this was going to be about how Epstein was blackmailing Israelis. But in many ways, it's more horrifying, because what it actually is about how Epstein, after being convicted of heinous crimes, was basically using his position and his social connections to invest in mass surveillance companies that are increasingly going to dominate Western society.
Stories at Reason.com. Inside Jeffrey Epstein's spy industry connections. After his first arrest for sex crimes, Jeffrey Epstein tried to get into a new line of work, surveillance. In 2015, he partnered with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak to invest in a security tech startup called Reporty Homeland Security, now known as Carbine. Leaked emails show that Epstein was using Barak to seek out opportunities in the surveillance industry and build connections with powerful figures around the globe, including American businessman Peter Thiel, the former director of Israeli signals intelligence, and 2 people in the Russian President Vladimir Putin's circle. So that's interesting, isn't that? I find that just fascinating, don't you? That you've got Jeffrey Epstein working with the former prime minister of Israel, as well as 2 people close to the Russian president and the puppet master of the current American administration. It's almost like you have this shadowy nexus of influence and, psychological or spycraft operations connecting countries that to the average person would seem to be at war with one another, Russia and America, and of course Israel, supervising and coordinating all of it. Very interesting. So they're creating security programs, security companies, while simultaneously, working to start wars with countries, despite being friends with people in the administration of those countries. I mean, it seems like the whole thing is like orchestrated, and the people at the top, like Jeffrey Epstein, are playing both sides of this war. What a conspiracy theory. After he was first caught sexually exploiting teenage girls, Epstein had pled guilty to soliciting prostitution in 2008. He served a little over a year in detention. Meanwhile, he invested his wealth in bizarre projects, including a ranch to breed women with his DNA and, quote, efforts to identify a mysterious particle that may trigger the feeling that somebody is watching you, according to the New York Times. Good Lord. The leaked emails show that Epstein was also interested in more mundane means of spying on and manipulating people, which overlapped with technologies governments often pursue. This interest crossed borders. Barack's email inbox was quietly posted by Distributed Denial of Secrets, a website widely considered to be a successor to WikiLeaks, and on a file sharing platform for verified journalists and researchers in May 2025. The contents came from Hendala, a hacker group named for a Palestinian cartoon character that has been leaking files taken from several Israeli officials over several months. And basically, there's a bunch of information that has since been verified that was not publicly known before being in the email leaks, which is a method of confirming their validity. The emails below, which have not been published anywhere else, paint a picture of Epstein as a man very eager to be at the nexus between private money and public surveillance. While they were hammering out the Reporty investment, Epstein invited Barack to come to a meeting with Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, and the surveillance contractor Palantir in May 2014. Although Barack could not make that meeting, Epstein insisted that Barack spend real time with Peter Thiel and offered to set up a dinner the following month. And here you see the actual emails in that case. Peter Thiel can come to dinner on the 9th. Can you stay until then? Barack wrote to a different business associate a few days later, without mentioning Epstein's role, that he and Thiel would have a, quote, first date and, quote, probably spend it talking just geopolitics with an unnamed third person. In that email, Barack added that he met Thiel once before in Davos, Switzerland, but speculated that Thiel, quote, probably doesn't even recall it. The email from Ehud Barak: going to meet him tomorrow for dinner. He asked to bring another person with him. I don't know who or why. I met him once in Davos 2 years ago. Probably he doesn't even recall it. Let's see. I was told by the host, which is Jeffrey Epstein, they don't mention that, just the host of the dinner, that we'll probably spend it just talking geopolitics. It's a first date. I think he's of huge potential to accelerate things. By sheer reputation he'd got. No way it's a waste of time. Thus, I'm going to do it and we'll see. I'll let you know. Hi, Ehud. I Googled Peter Thiel. Seems to be really interesting, smart, and active character. Did you meet him already? Best regards. It's not clear exactly what happened in that meeting. In February 26, however, Epstein pitched Reporty to Valar Ventures, the fund co-founded by Thiel and two close partners. Quote, we'd love to hear more about Reporty. Are you in NYC in the near term, or would a phone call make more sense? Thanks for thinking of us, Jeffrey. Valar Ventures general partner Andrew McCormick wrote back. After meeting with the Reporty team, McCormick rejected the proposal as premature, adding, we remain fans of what you're building and hope to re-engage in the future when the story comes into clearer focus. In 2018, the Founders Fund, another firm co-founded by Thiel, joined a $15 million Series B funding round for the company, which was then renamed Carbine. While Epstein was trying to deal with his American tech sector, he was portraying himself to Russians' elites as an apolitical wheeler-dealer. In April 2015, Epstein introduced Barack to former Russian Deputy Prime Minister of Economic Development, Sergei Belyakov, who then invited Barack to attend the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. That wasn't the only business Epstein had in mind. Quote, I spoke to Sergei afterwards. He will help. I suggest you send him a note that states that you think Putin and his advisors would benefit from spending some time with Jeffrey to discuss markets, currency, and the financial systems in the new world of zero interest rates, and that I'm not political, Epstein wrote in a separate email to Barack. We barely scratched the surface of what has been revealed from these emails, but essentially you've got the former prime minister of Israel conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to get government contracts, bringing in Peter Thiel, helping to set up his rise through Palantir, eventually leading to, J.D. Vance being ordained as the next president de facto by virtue of, his media portrayal over the last several years, while also conspiring with members of the Russian government, but using the Israeli prime minister to sheep dip Epstein, basically. So it's Epstein telling the prime minister of Israel, hey, you reach out to your Russian friends, tell them to talk to me, tell them I'm apolitical and, just want to help them out. Like, we're seeing a little bit behind the curtain here, a little bit of how the sausage is made in terms of international espionage and war profiteering, as well as the establishment of international surveillance states operated out of Israel and for the benefit of Mossad to spy on and obviously dominate the American and Russian political constructs while creating a war between them to profit from the death and destruction that comes about as a consequence. So it goes on, and you have a series of individuals, organizations, cabals, one might say, working together to, again, maximize their profitability and control when it comes to Israel's spy apparatus in America. Throughout the relationship, Epstein signaled to Barack that he was interested in keeping abreast of security-related technology, emailing Barack articles about cyber warfare, emergency preparedness, Russian nanotechnology, and Unit 8200, the Israeli equivalent of the National Security Agency. Quote, I enjoy strategy and strategic planning, and at the same time am amazed by the rate of which technology has moved into the private sector. Epstein mused in an April 2015 email, adding, many corporations are looking for a new military perspective on management. So Jeffrey Epstein was like a kingpin and a primary mover in the combination, the intertwining of private and public military surveillance and geopolitical intelligence, along with Peter Thiel. Is it becoming clearer why the Epstein list will never be released? It ain't Trump, folks.
Thoughts?
All right, so there was a lot going on there, but I think really if you take that last email that they were pointing out about the things that Jeffrey Epstein was concerning himself with, those are not things that your average person concerns themselves with in terms of political scale. Now, even the billionaire class, I'm assuming they aren't too intertwined, or they shouldn't be intertwined with a spy agencies that are there to collect as much information on as many people as possible. I mean, yeah, obviously it's going to be a great resource, and I have a feeling that you probably have to align yourself with somebody at a certain point in time when you have that much power and that much wealth, power, whatever, kind of same thing. Anyways, to an extent. So what exactly was going on with Epstein there? Because he had a lot of information, and he had a lot of information about how things were working around the world. And it seemed like he certainly wanted to be a part of the way things were playing out. Now we understand some of the operation that he was utilizing, so it would make sense that he was part of some kind of honeypot operation. And when you have that kind of power over any individual, then you own that person. If you understand anything about a favors system, a lot of the times it's about holding something over somebody's head so that way they are kind of utilized in a manner other people want to utilize them. And that's the real power that governments desire to have. That would be the reason for something like a national security agency, which is probably maintained by every nation state on the planet. Why wouldn't they? Because a government's job is to stay in power in order to govern people. It's not the best thing in the world, but in the end, it's these kinds of things that are kind of keeping the world together. Exactly, they're an asset, Silver. They get assets, and those assets, when you have that kind of power over somebody, when they can't talk, if the information comes out, then you can make people do things that they otherwise might not want to do. That's not a good thing, and that is
I missed the first part of her comment.
Silver says, it seems to me Epstein was just an intelligence asset. I believe so. I believe that's exactly what it was, is that he was an asset. And that asset his loyalty seemed to be toward the state of Israel. Is surprise? Is anybody surprised by that? And Israel is a small state, and they've really got a big mandate given to themselves by themselves because of their belief in terms of their faith. It's kind of what it is, but at the same time, we should expect every nation state to be doing this. People should always be assuming that somebody's listening or watching or trying to put them in a compromising situation. It's just the way it is, because in the end, there's only one perfect person, and they got rid of him pretty quick. He was only around for 33 years.
Yeah.
Carol says Epstein was handled, and we will never really know. He was still the link to the royals and such. But his handling started in church. That's another conversation altogether. But yeah, I believe that those kinds of sins, had they been made public earlier, would have completely thrown the world upside down. But I also believe that that's why things are happening the way they're happening. And this country will never be able to be truly governed by the people, because people are peoply. They're going to sin. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to want to hide those sins and mistakes. And so therefore, they end up easily getting controlled. We just need to understand that people are human again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have Ian, and he's going to talk
I
about.
haven't seen Ian in forever.
He's going to talk about Epstein.
All right.
So there's this massive file leak that just happened from Ehud Barak, the ex-prime minister of Israel, one of Epstein's very good buddies. Thousands of his emails were leaked online. And like alternative sources are talking about it, but the mainstream media, totally silent. Radio silence. And I have spent the last, I don't even know how long, just going down the rabbit hole. And I'm about to take you with me. This is just the start. This is just preliminary reporting. There's a lot of files, and just figuring out how to even analyze them has been a whole process. But through that process, working with my buddy over here on one screen and the reports on the other screen, and getting AI involved to write code that would scrape and then combine and then analyze. By the end of this, we're going to get to how they were surveilling the Hillary Clinton campaign. Oh yeah. And Putin and Jeff Bezos, Bill Clinton, Benjamin Netanyahu, and there's links that will go to email report. But first, I just want to tell you how we got here. Because when you actually download the leaked emails, they come from 2 different emails. But when you go into those emails, there is just this whole mess of folders. And in each one, there's more folders with different things. And each of these files is an individual email, right? But we're talking like 50,000 emails or more, each individual files in all these different folders. How the fuck are we going to analyze them? So lately, I've been playing with AIs in terms of helping find sources, helping dig through complex details and data, and helping get to primary sources. And, or in this case, aggregate thousands of email files and turn them all into one file that we can search all at once, because they're not all in one place. You can't search them. Right? Like there's nowhere you can go and type in Peter Thiel and have it find you where Peter Thiel is in the files. So I got on a call with my code wizard buddy. We got on here. He taught me how to use the most basics of Python, and he helped me out and did it with me. Crash course in coding, and we wrote out all this crazy code, and like, it's a long story. We'll skip it. But we wrote a program that would put them all into one JSON file. And then we got the JSON file, and it's real big. When you scroll through it, it's all of them extracted with critical information retained, like file names and file paths, day the email was sent, who it's from, who it's to, etc. But now it's searchable. And now we can put AI into them and have AI start scraping through it and be like, find me every instance of this or that, or look for patterns here or there. And that's where we stumbled across something kind of random that at first we thought was a nothing burger. Is in one of the little reports that it made summarizing what it was finding in the files, it mentioned Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and surveillance of the Clinton Foundation. And I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak are communicating behind the scenes about surveillance on the Clinton administration? Please tell me more. And so then it wrote up this little executive summary. This is all AI generated, all about what it found about the Clinton Foundation. And this is where it gets complicated, because you can't just trust AI to just tell you the truth and not double check it. You have to double check AI. And so what I always do every time that I'm using AI for anything is
Don't
I build
use
a
AI.
source citation. So it has to provide me links to the primary source where it is getting the information from. In this case, those are emails, but out on the internet, maybe that's to an article or to a statement or to, a document or something. And so we had to build in links to the emails that it's referencing to make these claims about the Clinton Foundation. And this is the original email. And it kind of looks like a nothing burger. It's from noreply@relsci.com. And it's kind of just like a newsletter with a bunch of headlines in it, which is like, oh, that's not very interesting. I mean, I think we're just accessing his spam folder at this point, right? Wrong. Anytime you get to a part in one of these digs where it's just like something's weird or it doesn't make sense or you don't understand something, you should just look a little deeper. So this weird newsletter thing is published and produced by Relationship Sciences LLC, or Relationship Science LLC. So just for the heck of it, we look up Relationship Science LLC. We ask for a little summary of what they're doing. We dig into them. Basic AI summary, probably the easiest way to get this description out. Relationship Science LLC does a web-based platform to build business relationships for selling and growing, providing clients the information needed to close a deal, win a client, raise capital, get the inside track, meet new partners, enter a new market, achieve a new level of influence. So it's still sounding like it's just a random newsletter that he signed up for at one point and forgot to unsubscribe from. That's not what it is. The RelSci platform provides real-time, people-driven intelligence on over 10 million influential decision makers and over 1.8 million organizations across the public, private, financial, and nonprofit sectors. Clients receive 360 alert emails so they can stay current with the ones that matter most to them. This appears to be their key newsletter product that would have reached Epstein and Barack. This RelSci service costs $3,000 per year per subscriber and is designed for Wall Street professionals who understand that if you get one extra deal, the price is irrelevant. So this is a high-end monitoring program that you sign up for, and then it gives you high-end paid reports on people that you want to monitor, whether it's so you can make a deal with them, or you just want to keep an eye on your competitors, or you want to know what your old blackmail buddy is up to. So we asked some clarifying questions. Is this like a random newsletter that's just sending them random information about random powerful people, or are they specifically requesting reports on the Clintons and maybe other people? Yes, based on how RelSci services work, you would have had to specifically request monitoring of Clinton-related activities, and here's why, etc. There's all these filters. It's very customizable. It's very tailored and specific. So when Ehud Barak is receiving these RelSci reports about Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton, they're receiving that because they have paid thousands of dollars for this service and have specifically tailored their subscription that those are people that they want to keep tabs on. So naturally, we got curious and had the AI scrape the entire list of emails that was leaked and find every single email that came from noreply@relsci.com. Write up a little report, include links to the original emails, please and thank you. Do a little tweaking through version 1 and 2 and 3. And here we are. They were surveilling Hillary Clinton, specifically 39 different reports about her relating mostly to her presidential campaign in 2016. They were surveilling Vladimir Putin. They were surveilling Jeff Bezos, Bill Clinton, Benjamin Netanyahu, Bill Gates, Larry Summers, Michael Bloomberg, George Soros. The list goes on. And again, this is not like some advanced intelligence operation. This is just basic data collection that they're paying for this service to keep tabs on all these people. But to clarify, Jeffrey Epstein, the lone pedophile, was working with Ehud Barak, the ex-prime minister of Israel, the ex-head of military intelligence in Israel, communicating about surveilling people. This is just scratching the surface. That's just the first thing that I just thought was super interesting. I got to still shower and shave. I literally just moved into this new library where we're going to be building the studio. It's kind of getting set up, but it'll take a second. We also, in one of our first searches, accidentally stumbled upon an email where Jeffrey Epstein was straight up sending a bank account number and a routing number to Ehud Barak for some sort of money transfer. We got to look more into that one. There's literally over 50,000 emails. And if there's one thing that they actually do corroborate already that I can tell just from reading the beginning ones that I've seen, it clearly shows that Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein were working on an intelligence operation together as partners. And they were clearly using coded messages. And more importantly, they were using phone calls for all of the most sensitive content rather than sending them in emails, because they're not idiots like Hillary Clinton is. And they knew that in an intelligence operation, there's a lot of things that you just don't want to put in text, because someday text might wind up on some asshole screen like mine. But it's still not hard to read between the lines. These guys were working together on an intelligence operation, and they were targeting all of these important people and many others. And I have a feeling that the reporting that has come out about Peter Thiel in these leaks so far, about Jeffrey Epstein in these leaks so far, all the reporting that's happening about these leaked emails, it is only scratching the surface. I'm going to try to figure out my best way that I can put this JSON file online so that everyone can have this searchable file that they can hopefully utilize to dig through it more. I'm going to be publishing all of these reports as much as I can. Stay tuned. Follow me on YouTube, because I'm going to be doing a whole deep dive video on YouTube exploring everything about this and drawing a whole bunch more connections. I just felt like before I go find my razor and shave this whole beard off of my face, I figured I should probably share the beginning of this thing with you, because it's kind of wild. And yeah, I mean, who knows who Epstein was working for? He was probably just working for like Qatar or something. But it's pretty clear now that whoever he was working for, Ehud Barak was involved in it. W. Whitney Webb once again.
All right.
Thoughts?
Well, so there was a lot of information there, and it's just kind of a little bit of the procedures that they used. I had no idea. Of course, it makes sense in the end that there's some kind of program that you pay for, subscription service, so that way you can keep tabs on somebody, and I'm sure that that's important. Intelligence isn't in and of itself a weapon so much as it's a force multiplier. It gives you information that other people may or may not have, and if other people don't have certain bits of information, then I guess, as the old saying goes, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And so at $3,000 per person, yeah, I can see how that would certainly, be beneficial to somebody running an influence operation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you read that, please?
All righty. Here we go. The Trump administration has located a stunning 23,000 missing children.
Let's listen.
Out of the 300,000 children, I looked at the numbers just yesterday. We've located over 23,000 of them. So 23,000 locations of the 300,000. Well, President Trump's committed. We're not going to stop till we find every one of them, or at least run every lead down on those 300,000 children. That's a big plus for the administration, because the last administration wasn't even looking for them. So, but as far as with Chicago is coming along with every other sanctuary city. President Trump is committed that we're going to focus and prioritize sanctuary cities, because that is where the problem is. We know for a fact they're releasing public safety threats to the streets every day, rather than handing them over to ICE so we can deport them.
Thoughts?
All right. So I think that that's another one of the reasons why things aren't moving as fast as we would like them to, because there are so many missing children. In the end, the government's goal is to try to save all these people, and obviously the children, but there's also other people that are threatened that don't deserve to be threatened. There's a lot going on, and it's a very careful operation that needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly. But in the end, about saving the children, I'd say that that's probably the most important thing, because they're the most defenseless. They're the least capable of defending or even understanding what's going on to themselves. They're pliable, and they're able to be molded into something that they wouldn't have been otherwise. Thank God for people like Tom Homan, who are out there doing the good, hard work that needs to be done to save these people that need to be saved. But 23,000 out of 300,000,
correct.
A lot of work that needs to be done.
Right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen.
All right.
The Bible says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. No matter what you're facing today, hold on to this truth. God has a plan for you. A plan filled with hope, not despair. A plan of prosperity, not failure. He is working things out for your good, even when you can't see it yet. You may feel stuck, uncertain, or even lost, but God's plan is still unfolding. His timing is perfect, and His purpose for your life is unstoppable. The challenges you're facing now are not the end of your story. They're part of the journey that leads to something greater. God's plan is not just for your present, it's for your future. He is preparing you, shaping you, and leading you towards something far beyond your expectations. What seems like a delay is often God's way of positioning you for something better. So don't give up. Keep believing, keep trusting, keep moving forward in faith. God's plans are bigger than your setbacks, stronger than your fears, and greater than your wildest dreams. Your future is in God's hands, and He will never let you down. If you believe, type trust in God.
Thoughts?
All right, so let's go back over that again. That was well done. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Now, I know that a lot of people are going through a lot of difficult times, and it may not feel like you aren't being harmed. It may not feel like you're prospering, but that's the present that's based off of the past. And that is to get us to understand that He wants us to be prosperous and to be not harmed. And that could be any number of things. But in the end, our goal is for eternity. It's for our future. It's not for our present, it's for our future. And again, it's about our growth and purifying our hearts and our souls, so that way we are more aligned with our Creator. So that way we can grow into all of the gifts that He really does want to give all of us. Does it mean that you're not going to have those gifts in this life? No, it does not. You can very easily get these gifts. Just know that the things that we're going through are for our benefit. These things that we're going through are for our benefit, for our growth, so that way we are worthy of receiving those gifts that He wants to give each and every person on this planet.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
All righty. There we go. Taliban hires moronic Western influencers as useful idiots in propaganda game.
Let's listen.
Like, oh my God.
I know.
You guys, have you seen this? I want to show you. Come here. The Taliban is inviting influencers, yes, influencers, to hang out with them in Afghanistan, and CNN profiled one of those Americans. Take a look.
We have one message for America. Welcome to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. It might not be on your bucket list, but for a growing group of influencers, the thrill of hanging with the Taliban,
The Taliban have come to join my workout.
and dispelling the country's negative image is just too tempting.
This is the underwater division of the Taliban.
Taliban bros, I guess. I'll tell you what's happening here. The Taliban knows exactly what they're doing, using Western fools as pawns in their propaganda game. The truth is, they've enslaved their own people. They're terrorists, right? The women of that country can't even go to school. They can't even go to work. They've been banned from public spaces like parks and gyms. Every woman has been removed from government. Even basic health care is hard to access. And yet this guy in this story had no idea when the journalist actually told him, making him the perfect pawn in the Taliban's propaganda game.
Thoughts?
Useful idiots have always been useful to those people who see them as idiots, and they're happy to use them because sadly idiots follow idiots. It's just part of life. And people are always pretending like they've got some bead on life because they're better at showing the world that they, their Instagram life. And people are going to be willing to take advantage of that. That's why people need to get off of this Instagram thing. Like, like the program, I'm sure that there's good things going on there and stuff like that. It's the lifestyle. The Instagram lifestyle is the problem, having the perfect photo, having, look at my meal. And it's like, who gives a crap about what you're eating? What value in my life does that have? Oh, look, you have a fancy car that you're driving around in Afghanistan, because everybody in Afghanistan should have a purple freaking Challenger driving around, stickers all over it. Yay.
Yeah.
Anyway, people follow the wrong things. That's because they are focused on the wrong things. But how do you convince a whole bunch of people that care about all of these earthly things that these people have it all wrong, when really what they need to be doing is turning to God? It's a difficult conversation, but you know what? Everybody's on their own path and they got to learn it their own way. So what do? We worry about ourselves and we pray for these people because they need it. The Taliban has their own very specific way of belief. And if they actually understood what they were being used for, as opposed to what the news was telling them, they might be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they'll wake up and they'll, regret those things.
You ready?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, would you read that, please?
Yes. Some young leftists are completely brainwashed beyond any earthly redemption.
Let's listen.
Okay.
I think we should abolish jail and we should allow all the violent immigrants and yes.
We should allow them to what?
Stay here.
Okay. Do you think that we could abolish jails, get all the violent immigrants, your words, and all the violent felons in jail? Could we put them here at USF on campus?
Yes, and I'll hang out with them.
You'll hang out with them?
Mm-hmm.
People give people labels all the time. And
no, they named themselves, like they named their own gang, MS-13.
Yeah, but you saying violent, which I understand, but gangs are there for a reason. Gangs are there for community, and they're there because, listen, gangs are formed for a community. They're formed because they're lacking something, and that they couldn't
drug
find,
cartels and human trafficking and
listen,
sex trafficking and gang raping.
No, that's a byproduct of human evil. That's not what gangs. I'm saying gangs in general, not MS-13.
But you're okay with American citizens going to jail for committing crimes, but you're telling me that when someone that's not an American citizen comes over and commits a crime, they should be allowed to stay.
They should be able to go to American jail.
So you want them to be housed in American jails?
Yeah, they did the crime in America, didn't they?
Thoughts?
Wow. They passed a college entrance exam.
I know.
Well, USF probably want to deal with those people because they're not good representatives. Or maybe you think that they are good representatives for the university there. That's terrifying. And to think
Her face was priceless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She is. It's like they can't even hear it.
I know.
Like, do you hear yourself talking?
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah. Say that over and over again
Yes.
until it makes sense.
Just say that again and again until it makes sense to you. Oh, abolish jails. It's a nice utopia.
Yeah.
But everything Marxist is always a beautiful utopia.
Yeah.
Until you get people involved.
Yeah.
And usually it's people like that run it.
Yeah. You're
But
right.
then again, they're usually run by other people through influence operations like Epstein Island, and who knows, whatever it is, they get like, yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah. Ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Democrats promote the least legitimate voting practices anywhere in the world.
Let's listen.
The single greatest abuse of voting in any democracy in the world today is the Democrat Party's policy of mass anonymous unverified mail-in ballots. I mean, just think about this for a second. Anyone in California can drop off a ballot where they don't verify the citizenship of who submits it, the residency, the age, the criminal history, the eligibility, or the signature. Completely anonymous vote by mail. Voting by cell phone would be vastly more secure than a system of tens of millions of unverified, unsolicited, unregistered mail-in ballots with no identity verification, including, of course, no citizenship verification. On top of that, Laura, as we know, California has outright stolen House seats just by counting illegal aliens in the census. There are entire members of Congress from California whose districts only exist because their constituents are illegal aliens. You'll never find an example of a more direct theft of American franchise and civil rights than creating Democrat House seats comprised of illegal alien constituents.
Well, it's canceling out the legitimate votes of, thousands of.
Thoughts?
Hey, you know what? It's made up land. We just make things up as we go along, and we do whatever we want. I do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, we ready?
Yep.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, very much so. You ready?
Yep.
Would you read that, please?
All righty. Let's see. Brit Girl says, you can't screw up an entire country this bad, this fast, unless it's on purpose.
Let's listen.
We've been saying it for years. It's not chaos, it's planned. Deport migrants, destroy culture, jail citizens for criticism, turn the police against the citizen, invoke digital IDs or surveillance, bankrupt nations to eliminate governments, eliminate private property, that will no longer exist. And the final step will be to transfer citizens to a global government. And this is also the reason for the cost of living crisis, to keep you busy surviving so you never start fighting back or living. And if you ask me, you absolutely cannot screw up a country this bad, this fast, unless it were on purpose. Now, please change my mind.
Thoughts?
It's been bleak in the past before, and it may be very bleak now with the invaders that are everywhere throughout the nations around the world, because people just don't have their country back because they've been importing all of these invaders. But then again, it's not permanent. It's been worse before, and it can be changed, and it's being changed right here. I do fear for the people of Europe because they're losing their culture on a daily basis, but with the rate at which things are happening, people are getting fed up and they're getting ready to start doing stuff on their own. The world is on the verge, and that verge is not anything necessarily going to start out violently, because it's already been violent. That's not the concern, because the violent people are the ones that are invading all of these nations. It's just a matter of people saying enough is enough. And once they stand up, and they turn to God, which is what's happening, which is the UK and Europe has been trying. They've been trying to brainwash those people to let God go forever and a day, but they're all moving back towards God. It's waking these people up all over this world, and it's just going to change. And those who were pretending like that they were something greater than they were are going to have true fear put in their hearts. Read the Bible. How many times did God put fear in invaders' hearts, and they just left? They left everything in their camps. They got on their horses and chariots, and they ran, and they left all of the things that they had secured through victories all over the planet, everywhere else behind. And then the people of Israel were able to just pick up all of the things that were there, all of the gold, all of the weapons, all of the jewels, all the everything. It can happen again. It's just about faith and understanding that everything is in God's control, and that we just need to stick firm, and it will change, and it can change in an instant.
Yes. Speaking of God's control and plan, let's listen.
All righty.
God has a plan, even when my plan fails. Peace of mind is to remember that God's plan will always be better than my plan, especially when mine fails.
Thoughts?
God's plan. It's always about God's plan. And I believe in my heart that God's plan is to show us all of these scary things. All of these things that put us up against the ropes. All of these things that just looks like it could be lost. But it was oh God, I forgot who it was. army of 300 took on
Spartans?
No, not the Spartans. No, biblical army 300.
Got
rid of the
I can't remember.
Gideon, I think it was what it was.
Yes, Gideon.
Gideon, whittled his army down to 300 and just absolutely decimated. And it can always look like, and God will show us so that way it can be nothing other than God. That is what he wants. He wants us to know that it is him. And so it's just about understanding that it's all God's plan. And as we turn to him, it will all be made very clear in the future.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Would you read that, please?
All right. Pete Hegseth reveals initial findings from internal audit to expose digital escorts in the DOJ.
Let's listen.
Last month, the Department of Defense was made aware of an Obama-Biden-era legacy program called Digital Escorts. For nearly a decade, Microsoft has used Chinese coders, remotely supervised by U.S. contractors, to support sensitive DoD cloud systems. The program was designed to comply with contracting rules, but it exposed the department to unacceptable risk. I mean, if you're thinking America first and common sense, this doesn't pass either of those tests. So I initiated an immediate review of this vulnerability, and I want to report our initial findings. So the use of Chinese nationals to service Department of Defense cloud environments, it's over. We've issued a formal letter of concern to Microsoft documenting this breach of trust, and we're requiring a third-party audit of Microsoft's digital escort program, including the code and the submissions by Chinese nationals. This audit will be free of charge for U.S. taxpayers. I'm also tasking the Department of Defense experts with a separate investigation of the digital escort program and the Chinese Microsoft employees that were involved in it. These investigations will help us determine the impact of this digital escort workaround. Did they put anything in the code that we didn't know about? We're going to find out. Additionally, all Department of Defense software vendors will identify and terminate any Chinese involvement in DoD systems. It blows my mind that I'm even saying these things. It's such common sense that we ever allowed it to happen. That's why we're attacking it so hard. We expect vendors doing business with the Department of Defense to put U.S. national security ahead of profit maximization. I'm committed, like the president is, to ensuring that our national security networks are secure. Again, it's America first, and it's common sense. This never should have happened in the first place, but once we found out about it, we've attacked it aggressively from the beginning, and we're going to follow all the way through the tape to make sure that this is addressed. So DoD is working in conjunction as well with our partners in the rest of the federal government to ensure that all U.S. networks are protected. God bless.
Thoughts?
I mean, it's something that should have been considered before we let Microsoft bring in a whole bunch of Chinese agents, secret agent men to spy on our nation and the Department of Defense. But then again, we've had Barry and Biden and all of them, and they hate America. So yeah, not a surprise. Yeah, we'll figure out a lot of stuff here, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a good house cleaning coming up here soon.
Yep. You have the video?
I have the next video. All right. JD Vance says, so you have Donald Trump, who was reduced murders, carjackings, and armed robberies in 14 days in Washington, D.C. And now you have national Democrats coming out saying, oh, we love murders and carjackings and armed robberies. It's absolutely amazing that.
Is Milwaukee a super safe city right now? It's had some crime problems. It's a beautiful city. There are a lot of beautiful, incredible, hardworking people who live there, but let's be honest, Milwaukee has had some crime problems.
Looks kind
So
of
have
green
other
screen
parts
to
of our
me.
community. Chicago, I know we're not too far from Chicago. Chicago's had a lot of crime problems. Why is it that you have mayors and governors who are angrier about Donald Trump offering to help them than they are about the fact that their own residents are being carjacked and murdered in the streets? It doesn't make an ounce of sense. And the last... And the last point that I'll make about this, sir, is, and I'm going to violate the advice I gave to the President of the United States yesterday, because we were having lunch yesterday and the President said, JD, I don't know how I did it. I have actually got the Democrats to come out in defense of crime. And it is the craziest. If Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said he really likes puppies, you would have AOC come out and say puppies are terrible. So you have Donald Trump, who has reduced murders, carjackings, and armed robberies in 14 days in Washington, D.C., and now you have national Democrats coming out and saying, oh, well, we love murders and carjackings and armed robberies. Why won't Democrats just use some common sense? We're going to disagree about stuff from time to time. I'm sure Democrats want higher taxes and I want lower taxes. We may disagree about some foreign policy issues, but on this basic principle that murdering people, armed robberies, carjackings are bad, wouldn't it be nice if the Democrats just worked a little across the aisle for once?
I mean, it would be nice if they would not absolutely shit all over everything that President Trump does.
Before you give your
Yeah.
analysis,
All right.
I want you to, could you read that, please?
All right. Pro-crime Democrat Jamie Raskin says, crime has always been part of our history.
Let's listen.
He's trying to militarize our society, intimidate his political opponents. The whole idea of picking cities based on their partisan leadership is absurd. I mean, there are lots of Republican cities and towns struggling with crime. Everybody is across the country. Always, crime has always been part of our history, and yet crime is down. In D.C., for example, it's at a 30-year low. It's down in Baltimore, it's down in Chicago. But the point is that in our system of federalism, the different branches of government and the different departments of government are supposed to work together. If Donald Trump thinks he's got some great ideas for Chicago or Miami or Houston, Texas, or whatever, he should call a summit for the White House and say, hey, here's some ideas where the feds can work together with states and localities, not have a series of rolling National Guard invasions of people's cities.
Now, thoughts?
They mock themselves.
Yeah.
They really are fighting for crime.
Mhm.
For crime, not fighting crime, but fighting for crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we already knew this. It's not like it's anything new or exciting. It's just now they say the stupid crap out loud because the people who are still following them need to hear the stupidity of what they're following. There's a certain point in time where it's like these people have to be controlled, the opposition, just to say this level of idiotic kind of things where it's like, yeah, you're fighting for the criminals and who does that?
Them.
I mean, yeah, obviously. So how can this not be designed by design to wake people up?
Yeah, exactly. You ready?
I just can't imagine. But you know what? There is a historical precedent. It's not like the Marines haven't been used on our soil before President Trump to get to maintain law and order. Now, granted, it was on the trains with the mail carts, but guess what happened? The train robberies stopped magically for some reason. You throw the National Guard into the cities, guess what happens? Oh my God, crime drops significantly. Why is that? Because the police weren't doing their jobs, but that's because their hands were cuffed behind their own backs with their own cuffs. And really, in the end, that's the terrible thing. And that's why we need to get to the people like Jamie Raskins of the world who are actually the reason for this. So that way we can have America be America again.
You ready?
Yep.
Would you read this, please?
All righty. Democrats keep saying the military is being used against Americans. Which Americans?
Yeah. And would you read Silver's real quick?
Okay, before we get to that, Silver says they are fighting for crime, illegal immigrants, and war. What a platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's listen.
And it's also because the military serves a role to protect Americans, not to be used against Americans.
Exactly. You keep saying used against Americans. What kind of Americans do you mean? The ones that are murdering us, carjacking us, raping us, terrorizing our cities? I mean, you're saying like he's creating an actual war against American citizens when what he's actually creating is a war against criminals. And by the way, illegal aliens who they are rounding up by the bucket load.
I want to let Ellie.
Oh, she wanted to move on after he started calling her out. He's exactly right.
you'll see a bunch of people on the left. He's using the military against Americans. What type of Americans? The military is there to protect Americans. That is what they're doing when they're working to stop crime. And it's just intellectually dishonest because they say this like he's just using the military against just all American civilians. Better not get caught out in the street, because if you do, the military is going to get you. No. And again, I think it's more about, well, we have a narrative that we need to control, and we need to say things to make people think that what Trump is doing is bad. And it's crazy because we're talking about fighting crime. They talk as if Trump is sending out the military to shoot people on sight. Like, no, he's doing things to reduce crime and keep Americans safe. And it's crazy to me that they go through these deep levels of mental gymnastics in order to fearmonger. You have to have something negative to say, so twist yourself into a pretzel to say it. Scott Jennings responded to her perfectly. What type of Americans are we talking about? That was a great response, because are we talking about law-abiding citizens, or are we talking about criminals? And again, notice when he pressed her, she decided that she wanted to move on. Also, just a reminder, I have a free email.
Thoughts?
If it was really going that bad, the press would actually have something to talk about worthwhile. You know, like Kent State. That would be newsworthy, and people would be upset about that. But that's not what's happening. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, the worst thing that's happening is the dark money through the criminal world is taking a hit. Oh, poor news people won't have news because there's not blood on the streets. So what could you possibly lead with? Maybe it's just the fact that the press needs misery and pain and suffering so that way they can sell advertising time slots.
Yes.
May they get everything they deserve.
Yep. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
How about some Craig?
Okie dokie.
While you're waiting, oh, God is still working, which is incredible news for those of you that have been praying for a long time. When you pray, God hears your prayer. Even if you don't see anything, it doesn't mean God's not doing anything. While you're waiting, God is still working.
Thoughts?
He's always working. He's always there. It may not feel like it. We've talked about this a lot. We've talked about this. But that's because when we're waiting, it can seem very, very difficult. And he works more, like I said, than we can even ask or imagine. We're going through the story of Joseph, and in the spot that we got to is that, let's see, Jacob was in the land of Israel. He got there. He said, I can die now. But you know what?
Egypt. Got in the land of Egypt.
Egypt. Whatever, words are hard. Anyways, I'll get it together one day. Anyway, it's been a long 2 hours. Anyway, so they're in Egypt, and he says that he's ready to die because he was able to see his son Joseph again. But God had a better plan for him than he even knew to ask or imagine, because he was still alive for another 17 years. Another 17 years he was alive.
To spend with his son.
To spend with his son.
And his grandchildren.
And his grandchildren. And he got to bless his grandchildren.
Yes.
So, you know, things may take a long time because Joseph was in captivity for a long time. And not only was he a slave, he ended up getting thrown in jail as a slave. I'm sure that was not a fun time. But you know what? It all worked out, and it worked out in ways that could never have been imagined. And so we must expect these kinds of miracles in our lives, because it's going to be given to us so much more than we even know how to ask or imagine. Just have that patience and faith, the faith of a mustard seed.
Exactly.
Hope says his plan, his timing, his purpose for his kingdom.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
You ready?
Yep.
Let's listen.
All righty.
When you are angry, stay silent. Don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear. Accept criticism, but never accept disrespect. The best way to respect yourself is to discipline yourself. Never give up on something you really want. It's difficult to wait, but it's more difficult to regret. Don't let success go to your head. Don't let failure go to your heart. If you are a giver, remember to learn your limits, because the takers don't have any.
Thoughts?
Naysayers gonna naysay. It's what it is. Haters gonna hate. And so we can't get upset with people trying to make us angry. That's kind of what happens, but that's also where we get a lot of growth. We must remain calm in those times where it can make us angry, because anger really in the end is our emotions taking control of us. We allow that to happen. We lose our own control when we let anger take over. So we must maintain our centeredness. We must remain centered in times of difficulty and in great challenges. And when we can get angry, it's all about trying to get our control of ourselves. We must learn how to captain our own ship. Otherwise, we can't pull it into any port, so that way we can get away from the storms in life. So make sure that you're maintaining control of who you are, and understand that these things that make us angry, it's only because we allow those things to consume us. So don't allow outside influences to control who you are.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
One of the things I've learned recently is to ask myself, if I get angry, is that going to change anything? And that would be a resounding no.
Hasn't worked out yet.
Yeah. And all it does is put your blood pressure up, cause problems with your body, cause problems with your mind, cause problem with your digestive system. So how fast can you run to the cross?
Amen.
Don't let that anger eat you up. It's not worth it.
There you go.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Well, we truly appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Locals, and Pill.net.
And if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on Rumble or YouTube, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on Pill.net, take that red pill. And if you're over on Facebook, you got like 7 choices. I mean, you can click one, click another, just sit over there and click, click, click.
I pick one, whatever. But if you like pushing buttons, if you're anything like us, we know you love push buttons. So push the buttons for us. It really helps us out and gets us up in the algorithm. And we do truly appreciate that. And we appreciate all of you. So thank you very much for joining us.
Don't take anything personally. And if you have time, please leave a comment over on Rumble or Pilled or wherever you're at. It really does help us with the algorithm, and share with anyone you think might enjoy the show.
There you go. All right, everybody. We love you all. Have a great night. Be safe, and God bless each and every one of you.